welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Reviews. Four games up this week, the first of which is a game called Neversong, or at least currently called Neversong. In fact, it states on the Steam plate here, formerly called Once Upon a Coma. I'm assuming that was a legal thing or something, because, the first title makes a lot more sense. I'm not exactly sure what a Neversong is. Especially since, a heavy theme of this is about is about comas. As in, you have either woken up from a coma or are in a coma. It's not exactly clear at first. But anyway, so Neversong here is an indie puzzle platforming game. Stop me if you've heard this one before. As opposed to Neversong's credit, it's got a bit more flair than your typical one of these. It looks like some other indie platformers I've played in some regards. Although, for example, I don't think I've played one of these that's been quite this orange. No.
Orange is a hard color to work with.
Yeah. But it's very... God, I'm trying to think of the exact terminology here. Upper crust whimsical or something like that. Kind of Tim Burton-esque as well, surreal creepiness. A lot of that going on here. Anyway, you play as recent coma victim Pete, who must save his girlfriend from the evil Dr. Smile for reasons that hard to be explained throughout the narrative of the game. And while that's going on, you are also dealing with the mystery of the missing parents. And yeah, there's a lot of shit going down, let's say. But you're not alone in the sense that there are a whole bunch of children around who will give you various quests that will advance the narrative and the progression of the game. Honestly, this game was pretty standard in terms of its construction and all that. It's not as derivative as, say, Hue that we reviewed a couple weeks ago, but I'd be lying if I was super impressed with anything in terms of the art direction or the music. Try to guess what kind of soundtrack this game has.
I'm guessing a lot of woodwinds.
If your answer wasn't minor key piano centric, then you haven't played a lot of these.
Fair.
And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying this is a maybe not specific, but this kind of game style is fairly pedestrian. And that kind of frustrates me because, I can see the art at play here. It's just, even the indie scene isn't immune to trends. Now, as far as the actual gameplay goes, this one's actually more platformer than puzzle game. Indeed, the power-ups you get are more about aiding you in jumping and moving about. Or at least in theory. In practice, I'm kind of dancing around my main, at least one of my main complaints of the game, and that's a profound lack of polish. Well, maybe not profound, but there's definitely a lot of weird shit going on. And one of the biggest things relates to the first power-up, which are these magnetic gloves. There are these, these. I'm not exactly sure what to, let's say hooks. And you use the gloves to swing on them. And, you use the momentum to propel you to areas you can't reach. Problem is, sometimes if there's momentum going on these things, they'll just randomly spaz out. To the point where I had to leave the area and come back in order to, or sometimes they'll just settle back down. I think it's related to the physics system that they're using, because this game is very loose in how it controls. In fact, that was my biggest sticking point with the game. And it's why I call this almost a good game. It's got the same problem as RoboZaro, of which we reviewed recently, but in the opposite direction. RoboZaro ended up sucking because its controls were too stiff and clunky. This game is too loose and bouncy. And I mean bouncy. Pete, he literally bounces when he moves. Just instead of walking, he bounces. And that kind of movement may not seem like a big deal at first, but it's when you try to do precision, or you're trying to little things, like trying to get on a platform, and you keep missing because of the goddamn movement. Now, it's one of those micro things that just added up to supreme frustration by the end. I was kind of done with, this kind of movement system when I just, want to be able to get onto things without worrying about overshooting or falling off. It's not good. Anyway, other movement items is the skateboard. If you're not on a hill, that's actually fairly useless. And you get an umbrella, which acts as, your, float jump. Think Princess Peach and the like. Like I said, fairly standard stuff in terms of power-ups. Combat is there. It's more obstacle combat outside of boss fights. And boss fights are operating on kind of a puzzle doctrine. You got to figure out how to deal with the bosses. They change their patterns, and it's all pretty typical stuff. And, that's kind of my summation of most of this game. It's doing interesting things in and of itself, but it does not exist in a vacuum. I'm not saying I'm tired of this kind of game, but I don't get impressed with, indie puzzle platformers just because you got, a unique art style and all the, and you have a commentary on the human condition.
Is all the music stuff just for puzzles, or?
No, the music, the music is awesome. You got music in the game. Some of it's fairly nice. There's one track I really liked. I'm just saying, it's not going to win any originality awards. I'm sure it'd probably win some soundtrack awards because it's nice stuff. I mean, if I sound like I'm harping on this, it's mainly because I wish I could find this more interesting than I do. But that's a me problem. That's we review a lot of games in a given year, and a lot of indie puzzle platformers are very arty in this kind of way. Not specifically this, but it's not far off the margins.
Mm-hmm.
No, the reason why I couldn't recommend this game is is it needed some more time in the oven. Like, it just, I don't know if they didn't have any QA or whatever, or if it's just the PC version, but this needed some fine tuning. This just needed more play testing, because it feels rushed to downright unfinished in places. And that's tied to like basic fucking movement. When basic movement is frustrating at times, that's not a good game, and that's unfortunate. Anyway, so pricing. This is an interesting one, at least on Steam. I know it's I think this game's come out on the Nintendo Switch and PlayStation. Like, it might be on all the major consoles as well. But in terms of the Steam pricing, regular price is $14.99, and there's a deluxe version, which is $25.17. That comes with 2 bits of DLC, which can be purchased. One is a game called Coma HD, which is the original version of this game. It's a simple Flash game, which provides the basis of a surprising number of games. But it's basically the original version of this game, and you got the Neversong original soundtrack. Once again, I'd recommend getting this game at a deep sale at most. $5 to $7. That's the range I would say the initial version, the upgraded version. I can't speak to too much, if only because I haven't played Coma HD. I'm not sure if that's worth $5 in and of itself. The soundtrack, I could see, I could actually see that going, spending $10 on this. So it's a bit of a checkerboard recommendation here. But yeah, as a game, it's slightly under par, unfortunately. Always a disappointment when things that look like they might, have potential, have it wasted in one way or another, but this is one of those cases. Oh well. Yep. Anyway, right, so that'll about do it for Neversong here. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Petty Fan will be reviewing a game called Lost Wing.